I'm Michael Stebbins with OMCP here at SMX West with Brad Geddes, the author of Advanced Google AdWords and the president and founder of Adalysis. Brad, tell us real quick what Adalysis is doing.
Co-founder. I do have another person who's really smart who I must give credit to as well, right? So Adalysis is an automated paid search recommendation engine where we scan the data behind the scenes to figure out what needs to be done so that humans can focus on action and computers focus on analysis of what leverage everybody's strengths.
That's great. We'll definitely check those out. So what we're asking Brad today is for some best practices in paid search. Brad's contributed quite a bit to the OMCP standard. A lot of the questions on the exam are based off the competencies that Brad has given us and worked with the rest of hiring managers out there on. So we appreciate that. Last year you gave us a few best practices. I'm asking you the same question again this year. What are some low dispute best practices that people can use in paid search?
Yeah, I love the term low dispute, right? So what works for everyone? So we've seen so many new features from the engines the past few years that a lot of times it's hard to figure out what to spend your time on. And so we've gone back to saying, what is our marketing funnel, right? Marketing 101, right? What is our marketing funnel? How do people do with us? And then be brutally honest with yourself, right? How are we doing in each stage? Because you will have weaknesses. It's just part of marketing, right? You'll have some weaknesses. And then you can evaluate new things coming out and saying, does this help us with where we're weak, right? Which is important because if you have all this awareness and you have nothing at the buy phase, you're not doing too well from a revenue standpoint. But to understand this funnel correctly, you have to track everything. And this is difficult. Most people track website visits or website-based conversions. Some track phone calls. But when you get into SMS tracking, chat tracking, in-store tracking, it falls down. And when you're not tracking things, you, of course, are making decisions off of inefficient and underreported data.
Yep. And Brad, I know it's a difficult thing to answer, and the answer is different for everyone, but can you give us a few pointers on how to get that data collected and in the right place?
Yeah, so it always starts with the user journey, right? What are the user touch points? And then from there, you say, what is our technology at those user touch points? And then what allows us to follow the user through to whatever we're tracking our conversions. So if you're doing something where it's a lead gen, well, you need to get your data into whatever CRM system you're using. So Google and Salesforce recently did a deal, so you can follow Gclid ID to Salesforce. If you're using a different system, you may need to use UTM codes. It could be Gclids, it could be your own base cookie, but you need to know your marketing stack, user flow, data flow, and then ensure that you have a way of closing that loop.
And it's a good thing to get your marketing ops people involved in that. Once you're collecting the data, it's incredibly useful. Brad, you and I were talking earlier a little bit about negative keywords. Maybe share a best practice that relates to negative keywords.
So negative keywords obviously are fantastic, right? When do you not want to show an ad? I mean, that's not just as important as when you show one. And everyone's become more sophisticated, which is great. And features like negative keyword lists, really useful because you can take all these negatives you don't want to show for, put them in a list, share it across your campaigns, you're great to go. But marketing is a living thing, right? It changes. And so what happens is someone says, we want to now do this. And so they create these ad groups, these campaigns, they do things according to how they normally do it, and then they never show. And it's due to them actually blocking themselves. And I find that more people need to do negative keyword audits to say, do we really not want to show for this anymore? And are we blocking the things we actually want to show for? And so negatives aren't just about blocking things, it's also about letting things live, right, that need to be out there in the wild as well.
That's right, yeah. And I remember that checking every time we come up with a new campaign, it's a good practice to go back and look at our negatives, make sure we're not blocking anything. Brad, for just one last question for you, because it's so useful. Somebody just entering the paid search field, do you have some advice for the newbies who are coming in?
Yeah, so when we think of paid search, right, we've got targeting. This says show an ad or don't show an ad. Keywords, audiences, whatnot. We have the ads themselves, the marketing, right? What is your message to the consumers? And then we have our feedback loops for analytics, which inform our bids and the mathematical part of this, right? So everyone has a place they're usually naturally very good at. They're good with math, they like the bids, they're a creative writer, they love the ads. So that's a great place to focus initially, right? 2 out of 3 pieces, one's done really quickly. Now, next shouldn't be your second best, right? It should be, what is my weakness, and face the weakness down. If you love writing, you probably hate the math. You know, the advantage is you can automate the math, but you have to know it before you should automate it, right? So go learn how it works and say, all right, I now understand it. Let me automate this and not do it anymore. But pick something you're weak at too, because that's one way to get better. So your strengths and your weaknesses, face them both, and you'll be a great marketer.
Great. All right. Great advice and best practices from Brad Geddes of Adelysis. I'm Michael Stebbins with OMCP. You will find these practices on the exam, and we hope to see you at the next conference like SMX West.